You ready? Let's call the Monday, October 17th, 2022 meeting of the Dalton City Council to order. Ms. Sams will lead us in the pledge. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The agenda is before you. We have one change, which is number 4. We're taking this off the agenda. Do I have a motion on this?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goodlett, second by Ms. Sams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Next is public commentary. Hilliard. Where, Hilliard? Yep. I didn't call his name. Andy can come if he wants to go first. Come on, Andy.
Thank you.
Visual.
Thank you.
This will be good. I'm going to keep it up here permanently, Terry.
I saw these out in somebody's yard too.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Andy Rollins, and I'm here to tell you that there are two types of people in this world. People who love pickleball and people who haven't played it yet. The game has a short learning curve. One can get to a level in pickleball in days that takes years to achieve in tennis. Please don't underestimate how very powerful that is to all kinds of people who want to be active and play a sport. Take it from me, pickleball makes unathletic people feel athletic. It's easy to make fun of the name pickleball, but people turn from skeptic to diehard very quickly once they play. It's fun, it brings people together, and it makes people feel good. In my opinion, that's the power that's fueling the rise of the game. The boom is not coming in the future, it's happening now. You may have seen in the past 2 weeks that both LeBron James and Tom Brady bought Major League Pickleball franchises. Billionaire Steve Kuhn, the owner of Major League Pickleball, says he's selling to new owners who bring quote unquote strategic partnerships to the table. In other words, big, new, smart, media savvy money is pouring into the pickleball space. The boom is here. The pickleball community is creating a nonprofit organization whose sole purpose is to promote and forward the game of pickleball in our community while supporting the Dalton Parks and Rec. Our goal is to take responsibility for leagues and tournaments, and in doing so, eliminate budget line items that would otherwise represent a cost to DPRD and the taxpayers of Dalton. With our help and your organizational muscle, we can make pickleball the leanest and best return on investment in all of our public rec department. If we can just get more courts, this can be a big win for the community. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to a tournament in Noonan, Georgia. Now, I've never been to Noonan, Georgia. I'm only going there to play pickleball. I'll likely get a hotel room and eat dinner at a local restaurant. I'm paying $55 to enter. Last I checked, there were over 240 people registered. How many of those tournaments would we have to host in order to make this a profitable venture for the tax-paying citizens of Dalton? Not many. These folks with me today won't say it, so I will. We spend a lot of money on sports for our youth. As a parent of an amazing 8-year-old, I'm grateful for this being a priority in our community. And we understand and respect that as stewards of that priority, y'all have a lot of tough decisions to make. But let's be honest, as a percentage of our budget, we don't spend very much on our seniors and our retirees. Pickleball is not just a senior sport, but lots of seniors love it. Pickleball is a multi-generational sport. I've played pickleball with both my parents and my son. This is a relatively small ask with a relatively low cost for the good of athletes of all ages in our community. We respectfully ask that the city of Dalton make it a priority for fiscal year 2023 that we convert the 4 tennis courts at the west side of Lakeshore Park into 12 pickleball courts. DPRD has a quote for that project, and it could be done in time to divert our fast approaching problem. People are already waiting for court time. Demand will likely ebb during our cold weather months, but come next spring, we're going to have a major problem on our hands with Parks and Rec managing a traffic jam at our pickleball courts. Compared to the other major projects y'all have to manage, this is low-hanging fruit. The pickleball community stands ready to help DPRD and the city of Dalton solve problems and prepare for our future growth. Our problem is we haven't done a good job of politicking this issue. We haven't done a good job of getting in front of the DPRD board or the mayor and council. So this is the time for us to fix that. We look forward to partnering with the mayor and council and the rec board in finding ways for this large, growing, and motivated contingent of voting citizens to impress upon you the urgent need for more pickleball courts in Dalton. Thank all y'all for being here, and thank you for your time.
Hey, Bill Bowen wants to play pickleball?
Good evening. Thanks for letting me speak tonight. Just a few minutes. I'm Hilliard Jolly and want to talk to you a little bit about pickleball. As you can see from the turnout here, most of the people I recognize as pickleball players in this audience tonight. It's important to a lot of us. I'm sure there are hundreds of pickleball players in this area in Dalton. By way of introduction, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the country. In the last 8 years, its popularity has doubled. In the last 2 years, it's grown by 40%. The quickest example I can give you of how it has exploded, in April of this year, they had the US Open for pickleball in Naples, Florida. They've got 64 courts there. We don't need that many, but it's a week-long event. They had 3,000 players. They had 25,000 spectators for pickleball. Now, granted, it's a national tournament and we're not Naples and we don't want to be Naples, but we've got a great opportunity for a sport that's exploding. They also had 49 countries and 49 states and 30 countries represented at that US Open for pickleball. And there's a reason for that. As Andy said, it's very social. The court's a third the size of a tennis court. You're a lot closer together when you're playing. There's lots of talking, laughing going on. Also, as Andy said, it's multi-generational. Last week next to me on the court was a father, his son, and 2 grandchildren. So it's great for all ages. The average age of pickleball players is 38. I thought it'd be closer to my age, but it's 38. So what we need, one thing I think I need to mention, you can do a lot of running around even on a pickleball court in an hour and a half. It's a good heart healthy exercise. It's great for kids. Middle schoolers can pick it up really quickly. And if it'll keep them off their phones for an hour or so, that's all to the good. So what we need locally are more courts. In the afternoons at Brookwood Park, there are people waiting for court time. The quickest and probably the best solution for that, again, as Andy mentioned, is to convert those 4 oldest courts at Lakeshore Park. Then we could handle the demand we've already got. We could host regional tournaments, bring in folks that'll spend money on a hotel and meals. Those 4 courts have recently been resurfaced. It'd be a really inexpensive conversion. All you got to do, repaint, restripe, and then put up new net posts and nets. So as I see it, there are 2 main considerations to this situation: the cost and the effect on the tennis playing community. As for tennis, I and about half the people I know that play pickleball have played tennis for 10, 20, 30 years, and a lot of them still play both sports. There's room for both. We can easily coexist with a tennis community. I understand that the tournament that's going to be held, I think in November next month for the tennis folks, requires something like maybe 28 courts. I'm not sure if that number is accurate, but they've got 20 courts there. If they converted those 4 oldest to pickleball, that'll leave them 16. They're already having to use overflow places like Dalton High and the Country Club. So they just need 4 extra courts in addition to what they're already using at other sites. So our sincere hope is the Dalton Parks would modify, make an alteration, reallocate some of their money in their budget for 2023. As I've said, it'd be a cheap conversion if you took those 4 courts and made them into pickleball courts. I haven't read the mission statement for Dalton Parks and Recreation, but I'm sure it says something like part of their mission is to provide recreation for the citizens of Dalton. Well, this is a serious recreational need. It's very popular. We need more courts, so I would urge you to consider that needed addition to recreational needs for Dalton. Thank you.
Ken? Yep.
My name is Ken Ellinger, and I just want to say up front, I'm a pickleball player and I play every Monday night at First Methodist, and I'm heading there as soon as this is over. So I'm the last one who says we don't need more pickleball courts, because we do. I just want to make a quick pitch for not taking those 4 courts. That is not the answer, in my opinion. I know Gary Hurd shares that opinion. Some of the rest of us who play both tennis and pickleball. Those 4 courts are needed because the original 6, nobody wants to play on them. They're crammed very close together. Other people's balls roll in your court. They have super bad lights. Nobody wants to use them. According to Deb Wells, only having 16 courts there is going to be a problem going forward with state tournaments. They really want 20 courts in one location. But the big thing is, in the summertime, those are shaded by the hill. So in the summer, those 4 courts are in the highest demand. That's the only time I will play out there on a super hot day in the summer. I know it makes it sound like, well, he's kind of a wimp. He should just, get over it. I guess the thing is, those courts are strategically more important than the pickleball community realizes. They're important to the tennis community. I think somebody said this is a win-win. Actually, that's not the case. This is a win-lose. It's a win for the pickleball community. It's a loss for the tennis community. What the tennis and pickleball community wants is more pickleball courts, but not at the cost of those 4 tennis courts, courts 11 through 14, right next to the hill, that are shaded so nicely. So by 5 o'clock in the summer, you can play in the shade, and they're well lit. They're really perfect for tennis. I can imagine the pickleball community would love those too, because that would be shaded courts for them. But I'm just hoping we can find a place to build pickleball courts, either at Lakeshore or somewhere else, without actually taking away from the tennis courts at Lakeshore. So I hope there's a way to do that. And I agree with everything that's been said about the growth of pickleball. It is awesome. You guys should try it. It's so easy to learn. It's easy to play. I couldn't persuade my youngest daughter to play tennis. She said, it's too hard. I don't want to spend that much time learning how to be good. First time she played pickleball, she goes, this is easy. I'll play this. This is fun. And it's very social and easy on the joints. Great stuff for us older folks. But if we could still hang on to those 4 courts for tennis, that would be very nice for the tennis community. So hopefully we can find a way to do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ken. This council, or 3 of us, approved the first pickleball courts 3 years ago in Dalton. I didn't even know what it was, to tell you the truth. I know a little bit about it now. So we're very open-minded to this. The council has asked Andrew, Caitlin, to get with your leadership here and figure out the best solution to this. They've talked about another location out in Al Rollins Park, a baseball field that is not being used or whatever, to maybe we could do even more courts than what you're asking for. But I think they're going to do that, call together your leadership, figure out the best way to handle this, whatever. So I mean, we understand how important it is, and I'd love to get some of those tournaments here, which means we need to have enough courts for those things, because these courts, compared to a lot of other things we do, are not that expensive. So Andrew will handle that with Caitlin, whatever, and they'll get with y'all and move forward. To do it quick, because Mary Ann's gotten too old to play tennis. minutes are before you of the mayor and council meeting of October 3rd, 2022. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions?
Motion to approve is written.
Motion by Ms. Sims, there's a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pharaoh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Under new business, approval of Motorola Solutions maintenance contract for the police department records management system.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor and Council? This is just to renew a police department records management software. We're looking to do a 5-year contract to reduce the cost and to take control of some savings that they have offered. And this is just to do the formalities.
Questions?
I really couldn't hear much of it.
What? You couldn't hear it? He couldn't hear it.
I'm sorry?
You repeat.
Everybody living, I couldn't really hear it.
So Mayor and Council, this is a request for a continuation of the police department records management systems. And this is just to do a contract for 5 years with a 1-year to 1-year continuation. This will give us some savings. That way we can do a fixed cost year over year for 5 years.
And as I understand from the chief, this is in your budget already.
Their motion?
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Ferris, second by Ms. Sams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 3, lease with Latin American Association for Matt Gaston Community Center.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Back at the September Finance Committee meeting, the mayor and council received a proposal from Rafael Huerta for the Latin American Association to lease space at the Matt Gaston Community Center, approximately 1,500 square feet in the area formerly occupied by WIC, next to where the Deo Clinic currently is. WIC vacated that space some time ago, and it has been vacant ever since. The public services that they will be providing are family services and well-being, youth services, economic empowerment, immigration services, advocacy and outreach. The lease is for 3 years, which can be renewed for an additional 3-year term in October of 2025. The lease does provide that the city can opt out for any reason with 90 days notice. The agreement provides for the Latin American Association to pay their share of utilities, which is estimated to be 5% of the annual utility budget of $60,000, so $3,000 a year. And again, they've been serving our community now at the World Carpet Building for just over 3 years. And we hope by them moving to the community center, they'll be able to provide broader services to the Latino population of Dalton.
Questions, Andrew? Their motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sams, is there a second? Second by Mr. Goodett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Number 4 has been removed. Number 5, service delivery strategy agreement updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. As you all know, in mid-August, the staff and respective legal counsels of the city and county began to work on updating the various 40 some odd service delivery agreements that are set to expire on October 31st of this year. As required by law, we're required to work with the county to develop a service delivery strategy plan to avoid duplication of services and double taxation within the community. These agreements outline who's providing what service, where, and how each of us will fund it. These agreements are not just between Dalton and Whitfield County, but also the 3 small cities, Varnell, Cohutta, and Tunnel Hill. As I said, we've been working on these. Most of these agreements were over 20 years old, and in some cases, approximately 25 years old, and we're grossly out of date with current operating practices. It was a major project. There was a lot of time put into this project by the department heads and the legal counsels to get these drafted and to be reflective of the services that are provided today. The county approved these agreements on the 7th, Tunnel Hill did on the 10th, and then Varnell will follow suit tomorrow. Not all 40 had to be changed. The 25 or so that had to be completely rewritten or listed in your packet, but there were a few that were okay. And the final thing I'll say is that one unexpected issue is that DCA requires a 30-day review process. And this was a little bit of a surprise to us because we have to do this only every 10 years. And so what I would ask for in a motion is for authorization for the mayor to sign the Form 4, which was included in your packet. What this does is extend the existing service delivery agreements until February 28th of 2023. However, in talking with respective legal counsels, these agreements will be binding as to the local parties beginning January 1st as intended. It's just plans and make any necessary comments or revisions, which we're not expecting. But again, they've asked for 30 days. The only substantial service delivery changes that I'll note for the record, since we only do this every 10 years or so, were related to the lost agreement, the concessions that were made in the lost agreement. Just to highlight a few quick points, the roads and bridges service delivery agreement was amended to require cash payment from the county to the city each year of $200,000 for paving by January 31st. The stormwater and soil erosion service delivery agreement, the county agreed to reduce the city's annual payment of $175,000 for those services to 50% of that, $87,500. And then the last major bullet point, which we've talked about a lot, but it's worth putting on the record, is that the parties agreed to remove the jointly funded services tax district, and the county agrees for doing that they'll take over management, operation, and funding of the senior center beginning January 1st, 2023. And the city will reimburse the county just over $400,000 in SPLOST funds that were earmarked for senior center upgrades and renovation. So that is the summary. But again, I would ask, the motion needs to include allowing the mayor to sign that Form 4, which I provided a copy to you tonight, to extend the agreements at least until February 28th, until DCA can approve them, which we expect to happen much sooner than February 28th. But unfortunately, if you look at the second page of that Form 4, they only give you 3 dates throughout the year to choose from. So that was the nearest date of the 3 options. Be glad to answer any questions.
So what we're doing tonight is just extending the old agreement.
And approving the new agreements. It's two.
Okay, so you
actions.
need 2 different motions.
I think that I would defer to the city attorney, but that's probably most appropriate.
Any other questions? Nope. Do I hear a motion on the first one, which is extending the agreement?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sams, second by Mr. Goodett. All in favor, say aye.
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 Second one is now approving the new agreement, correct?
Service delivery agreement packet 25 that are in your packet, and the 10 or so that did not change from 10 years ago.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ferris, second by Mr. Goodett. All in favor, say aye.
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 There being no supplemental business, so I'll entertain a motion. We adjourned.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
She didn't come get her pickleballs.
But I'll take it.